Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today we discuss youth, resiliency, and high-risk behavior. A new generation of leaders like Sarah Wright from Jackson County, our guest today, are working in our schools and communities to address the risks and healing potential of Iowa youth, searching for the keys to resilience. Let's meet Sarah, hear her story, and learn about the path to resilience for Iowa communities. Sarah, welcome to the show. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi. So as you said, I was raised and graduated from high school in Jackson County. And it was kind of accepted that, at a young age, we could access alcohol and different substances. And the community was accepted. Parents were accepted. I would even serve us as minors. And I came from an alcoholic family. My dad was an alcoholic and almost died. And then because of his alcoholism in a really bad crash the day before my 10th birthday. So I knew at an early age that I wanted to move into this career choice and work in prevention and share knowledge because being of the earlier generation of the 80s and 90s, we didn't get a lot of education as to why we shouldn't use substances. We got the just say no message. And like any other kid, we want to know why. Why should we not use this? Why should we not try those substances? And that started my journey into moving into prevention, wanting to educate and share that education. A lot of youth have asked, I hear that I'm not smart enough, and it's never that you're not smart enough. It's that your brain is still developing. So we might be a little bit more impulsive in our decisions, but you have plenty of knowledge to make that good decision. And I enjoy working with the youth and giving them that knowledge and helping share, the trainings I've had and ways that we can support them in our community.
But you and I each represent different generations as well. And it's hard to understand when you're growing up that the world has changed, that the parents and the leaders don't have all the tools. And that's really one of the roles of prevention specialists like yourself, to get out there and give people a head start on understanding things so they're not surprised, so they're not caught unawares, or they're not innocent victims of some of these dangerous things. One of the really cool things to me that's come up in this discussion about prevention is the idea of resiliency. And because you've been on a healing journey, from your youth and then learning and now turning that learning into helping other people. But we didn't talk about resiliency 10 or 15 years ago. It sounds like a new technology, but it's really a very human trait. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, it is helping to support our youth and let them know it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to need help and support in our communities. And I find that when we started this process and this grant was offered to the coalition, which is the Jackson County Prevention Coalition, that we really needed this here. Our youth were needing help and knowing that there's hope for them. There's ways they can cope to become resilient and lead a healthy life and deal with past traumas or trauma that is going on right now in their life, that we have adults that are ready to support you, that have that education, have that training to support you through those times.
So having grown up in the county, seen what tools were there or weren't there when you were young, what's the response of the kids and even the parents to this process of learning that they have this internal strength and power, this sort of neuroplasticity and resilience that they can build on?
Growing up here, my mom, and I bring up my story because I am 41 years old now. I've just been diagnosed with ADHD, and I think I struggled as a kid with ADHD, but it was so stigmatized that, nope, you don't have it. We are not going to give you medication when I was growing up. To see our youth, when I go in to present some of these programs or, go to watch our volunteers under this great grant that have performed some of these great programs at the schools, it's eye-opening. You can see they're still struggling because some of our generation still here in Jackson County, parents are still holding that same view of my child is, nope, just needs more discipline, pull up your big girl pants, deal with it, and go to school for the day, and everything will be better when you get home. It's to see the views of the kids, though, saying, I need this support. I know I need help. What can I get to help me? Is amazing. And to watch their eyes open when they realize that, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, it's is also amazing because parents are not seeing today how much the world is really changing. And so it's not that the kids are weaker.
Yep.
It's that they're facing risks and challenges that their parents never had to deal with. And predatory actions and pathways like through social media and misinformation that can really disrupt their lives. I would really love to have you talk a lot more about where kids are today. We're going to take a short break. We come back and let's dwell on that a little bit to see how we can unravel what the world is like for kids today. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Well, because it's the best. And that's true because I've thought about that. I mean, definitely the fastest. And the biggest thing I hear most people talk about is the stability of it.
Mediacom's network is very reliable. We have a lot of programs in place that can monitor kind of issues that arise. That way we can fix them before they reach the customer.
Trust the pros. Get extreme internet starting at $9.99 a month for a year.
Malware and bots and worms, oh my. The wild, wild web can be a scary and complex place. And as our digital world expands, so too are the threats. Watch out, Trojan horse. That's why at Mediacom, we take security very seriously and monitor our networks around the clock to stop threats before they can affect you. Not today, rude kid. Not all internet is created equal. We build ours to keep you connected and protected.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're talking with Sarah Wright, a prevention specialist from Jackson County in Iowa. She's part of a growing movement to build the capacity for resilience in people and communities as a method of addressing health issues and improving youth outcomes. Tell us a little bit about how these efforts are structured and how grants help them and all that kind of stuff.
So Iowa State University, the Partnerships and Prevention Science Institute, had done some research. They found funding and were able to put out what's called the Resiliency Zones Initiative. And it is for rural communities to help build that resiliency through programming, not just for youth, but community-wide. It is part of the Prosper delivery system. So we're using research and evidence-based programs in rural counties in Iowa to help support and offer that knowledge that youth are asking. And some are even craving. They want to know, how can we do better? How can we help our friends better and our peers? Because they have a lot more going on today. They have more social media access. They have more pressures. If something happens in school, it's not like when we were younger and it took a day or two or maybe a week for the whole school to find out. It's within seconds of that happening. So they have a lot more pressure to fit in, feel accepted. And this initiative is set to help them build that through programming and help them know that there's other supports and that they don't have to wait for that adult to come and approach them, that it's okay that they can go and approach these adults for help. And finding, their A-team or like in teen mental health first aid, they call it their VIP team. Who can they reach out to first before they feel that they are better off not being here?
Yeah, and there's kids, and that's a really heavy statement you had just made. But kids see this even when they look at they talk about their parents, and they'll be like on a group chat with family members, and they talk about how quickly things get out of hand and people start arguing and this crazy stuff starts happening. And the parents are like a frog in the frying pan. They're into it and they don't really realize how they get sucked up into that. And they don't often realize how more delicate it is for their children to be swept up in that same kind of energy. It's not great for adults either.
Nope.
But for kids, when they require leadership, it's hard for them to look at their parents when they see them often just as addicted to their cell phone, just as wildly inattentive by being on the cell phone. They're not getting that human touch. How much about resilience is really about face-to-face human stuff?
I would say 50-50 because Resilience can also be you find your comfort or your hobby of what makes you recenter yourself. Like if it's yoga, then go do a yoga class or find a quiet space and take your 5 minutes to do your yoga. But it's really about self-care and knowing how to monitor our emotions and also what's appropriate, not appropriate at certain times, maybe to how to express those emotions. And that we don't ever want to negate anybody's emotions. So it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be mad. What makes it not okay is if we show it in an unsafe or harmful to ourselves manner or to somebody else. And that's really what we go in and do. So ISU has been a great partner, our extension office here in Jackson County. We did a mindful teen training with them and had 2 volunteers that went into a middle school here in Jackson County. And some of them, they were 7th graders, said, well, I just punch stuff, I throw stuff, I break it. So when we asked them, what was going through their mind when they were having these emotions, and they said, well, I was angry and this is how I show my anger. Well, what if we could cope in a different way and show you maybe a safer way to cope? Do you have a hobby? Do you like art? Do you like to write, draw? And to see from that first session to the end, they were coming out of their shells and saying, I do like this. I don't get to go out into nature as much. I spend a lot of time on my social media. So how do we reprogram ourselves to say, it's okay, I need to take a minute away from social media. It's not the end all of my life. I don't need to be tied to it. In fact, I had a student that shared with me in one of my sessions when I was in working with the youth that said, cell phones are just like vapes. You have to take your cell phone with you everywhere, just like you take a vape with you everywhere once you start to use. And to hear that correlation, I was like, you're right. It's another type of addiction, that social media. And most want it because they want that acceptance among their peers.
Yeah, and it's fascinating when you mention that 50%, because really when we think about it, there are kids that are more extroverted and more introverted. And a more introverted kid might want to have that sort of hands-off approach with some of the tools that you can share with them online, while more extroverted ones need to make a physical connection. And it's important to understand that framework. Well, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation. This is really interesting. See you all after the break.
Glitching.
I told you with our new Extreme Internet, it will be smooth streaming.
That's unbelievable.
Well, you better believe it, Missy.
I already finished streaming the whole 2nd season of my show.
So start the 3rd.
What the fast? That's really not frustrating.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You should.
I'm gonna get some ice cream. Do you want some?
With the drama-free reliability of Extreme Internet, you'll have to create your own. Get super fast internet with whole home Wi-Fi for as low as $24.99 a month for a year.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove. You told me not to do drugs. You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're learning about resilience with prevention specialist Sarah Wright from Jackson County, Iowa, and the potential to empower Iowans dealing with mental health and substance use challenges. And even more drastic things we see around Iowa, where there's just these inexplicable suicides that everybody wonders, what can we do? And what's the illogical outcome from dealing with mental health issues? Now, as I understand it, we're seeing much, much more engagement from schools and parents saying we need to have some help along these lines. We need help with our kids. How is that like, and what's the climate like in Jackson County?
I would say, depending on the town, there are different readiness levels as to different programs. And so we based our assessment for the Resiliency Zones Initiative grant off of that. And we talked to different school districts. So we talked to different youth in different school districts. We talked to the admin teachers, and what they were seeing was increased behaviors in the classroom. Some are struggling, and the teachers, everybody wants to be a part of that solution. How can we support our youth better? And what can we give them to support them better? So we had a school district that said, okay, we're going to have 10 staff trained in our middle and high school in youth mental health first aid and work towards implementing teen mental health first aid that right now is for 10 through 12. They are working on adding the freshmen. So it'll be 9th through 12th grade. And it comes in and talks to them about the struggles as youth. How can we help them become resilient? How can you help a friend? How can you feel comfortable to ask that peer, do you have a plan? Do you plan to complete suicide? And be comfortable asking those questions so that they can be there to maybe put them in touch with that trusted adult and support them, not diagnose them, not treat them, but get them to somebody who can help them. And that's the biggest thing, especially with mental health first aid, that I think everybody needs to know. It's not a treatment. You're not treating them. You're not diagnosing them. You're just being there to help them get help, like to put them in with whether it's a school resource, a parent, an older sibling, one of your VIP team, as they call it, that's a trusted adult. So, and some of it is lack. We found that a lot of our youth didn't know what was available in our communities. So getting them those resources and letting them know where we can help them and who's there and where to go.
For a parent or a loved one or even a sibling, what are some of the behaviors that may be an indicator that that a child is struggling? That instead of maybe getting angry or disciplining them, that you need to start hearing them to feel where they're coming from.
Some of it is withdrawn, or if you see a change in what they may have used to do. So if they used to be this into sports, but now they might be kind of missing more of their practices, they're not showing up, they're not as involved. Those can be signs. If you've noticed maybe that they're choosing a substance, maybe starting to vape, maybe not wanting to talk as much, be around friends, but their environment's changing, they're maybe a little bit more sad or depressed, not as interactive. And some, like we talked about earlier, is some are already kind of that introvert, so they don't kind of show a lot, but you'll notice some of those little changes, especially as a parent. You'll see some of like maybe their activities where they're closing themselves off in their room more, they're not coming down for supper, they're making excuses, I'm not hungry tonight. Those kinds of things in as to something's going on. It doesn't mean that they made a plan, that they plan to complete suicide, but there's something going on and we need to figure out how we can support them best, whether it's just you open your ear and you listen to them, or if it's offering support and saying, hey, this is somebody who can support you. I feel like we need to reach out to the guidance counselor, or here's a number for a mental health wellness clinic that we can get you in touch with, or do you need somebody to talk to? Can I just—
So if you see their grades slipping, it's maybe not a tutor you need to get. It might be something else.
Yeah.
Or if they're starting to become a little bit antisocial or not going to sports as much, you can't just go sit back and say, oh, it's just a phase they're going through, because that's not the case. A child wants to be happy and optimistic and successful at what they do. So when they get it backed into a corner, it's safe to say that you have to look a little deeper than what you see on the surface.
Yes. And talk to them and just be an ear, just say, I'm here to support you. And if they're not ready to talk, it's not a let's walk away right away, maybe, but maybe push a little and say, hey, how about we go and do this, whether it's go to the movies, because just doing something that you do may make them feel comfortable, that you would regularly do every day as a friend, as a peer, as a parent, and have that conversation rather than face to face, side by side, because it makes them feel comfortable. Most youth, we find when we are facing them as a parent, especially an adult, they already feel like, oh no, I've done something wrong. So having that conversation side by side, I've done it a lot with my 10-year-old, driving into her taekwondo, she'll be in the back seat, sitting on the passenger side, and it makes them open up because you're not staring at them. You're not giving maybe a look that you don't realize, your nonverbal language isn't aggressive. So it gives them that comfort level to sit side by side and puts you guys on the same level to have them open up.
Oh, that's really great stuff. Well, we're going to take another short break. And Sarah, we're going to ask you to share some final comments, insights, and inspiration for our viewers. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All Mediacom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your Mediacom account. Not a Mediacom cable subscriber? Mediacom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Dad! Dad, I'm not glitching!
I told you with our new Extreme Internet, it will be smooth streaming.
That's unbelievable!
Well, you better believe it, Missy.
I already finished streaming the whole second season of my show.
So start the third.
What the fast? That's really not frustrating.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You should.
I'm gonna get some ice cream. Do you want some?
With the drama-free reliability of Extreme Internet, you'll have to create your own. Get super fast internet with whole home Wi-Fi for as low as $24.99 a month for a year.
Antsy for your favorite sports to return? Lack of quality programming got you down? Well, worry no longer, because Inside Sports is here to satisfy your cravings for the savings, your need for speed, your desire for the umpire. You get the message, right? Tune in to Inside Sports to get a deeper look at athletes on and off the mat, the track, and even the Wi-Fi? Yup, if there's action, you can bet we've got you covered on Inside Sports, only on MC22. Stream online on mc22.net and on our channel Monday and Fridays.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we talked about resilience, a growing movement to build the capacity for people and communities to address health issues and improve youth outcomes. Let's see what final insights and inspiration Sarah has to share with us. Sarah, give us your best.
So when we went in to talk to youth, one of the things they said was not only did they need more knowledge on how to support each other and their peers, but also they wanted their parents to be educated and have more knowledge on how they could support not only youth, but maybe their peers in the community. So when we sat down and did our plan, our action plan under our Resiliency Zones initiative, we looked at and we went into 2 different school districts in the high school, talked with 2 different youth, and their concern was you can support each other and we can get all the knowledge we want, but until we can help our parents understand our struggles as well as the struggles that other adults are feeling right now and how better to support them, it may not be as successful. So with that, we decided to do QPR, which helps adults to understand and how to provide maybe some sign or some help when they see some signs.
Now, what's QPR?
QPR is question, persuade, refer. Sorry, I forgot.
Okay.
I'm used to using the.
So that's a methodology of getting people engaged in the conversation.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's to help when they're seeing those signs of a crisis. So if an adult, a peer, a coworker, somebody in the community is seeing some of those different signs, how they can best help that person and maybe get them in touch. Again, it's not diagnosing, it's not treating. You are purely there to support them until you can get them somewhere that they can get help, or talk to somebody. And it's okay to say during any time, and we even talk with this with youth, if what they're saying and disclosing to you is too much, it's okay to say, you know, we really need to get somebody else involved. This is very emotional for me. This is a lot of information and I'm struggling with handling this right now. So let's get another person involved that can help better.
So it's a little bit of mental health first aid.
It is. It is. Yes.
So you can put the Band-Aid on, but it may need to see a doctor.
Yeah, and it's getting that education out because we can give youth all the tools for them to make the best choices and support their peers and be able to become resilient themselves. But everybody needs support, and support is best at home. As a parent, there's nothing better than knowing you can support your child or maybe their friend until they can get help if they're at your house. And so giving everybody all the tools they can to help our community thrive is what this is about. We just want a strong community of our youth moving forward with healthy lives, being able to thrive. Everybody deals with some form of trauma. And if we can help you be successful and realize that, hey, I had that traumatic experience, but I can bounce back. I can cope with these feelings and still have a very healthy life going forward.
What are some of the aha moments that you can share that parents have found when you get them down this journey? I mean, are they surprised that you can actually get them to see things that they may not have understood were out there?
I would say yes. I think it is surprised because even as a parent in our rural community, I was born and raised in Jackson County, and as a parent, to see the growth in all of our youth is amazing. And to realize that, these are things I seen as a parent, and I thought, oh my gosh, until I really seen this programming and somebody put it in front of me, I was like, oh, this is stuff that even I missed as a parent. And so to see them, you could see the lights going off, kind of to speak, and see them light up and be like, okay, I can do this. And a lot of it is teachers, even, with the teachers, I'll have a lot of education already, but to see them even say, oh, I can do this and support our youth better, and they can be successful.
That's pretty cool. And I thank you so much for sharing this information, because I'll tell you what, this is a journey a lot of Iowa parents are going to be going down in the next few years. And it's good to see Jackson County leading the way in that part of the state. And thank you all for joining us today and watching. Check out our website at healthyiowa.org and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. On MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.